Toronto's fight against gang violence was brought back into the spotlight last week. A police raid took aim at one of the city's most notorious gangs. Almost 100 members of the Jamestown crew were arrested. Now, the problem of gang violence is not a new one, but a Toronto group is actually approaching this issue from a different perspective. A Brazilian perspective. Schools Without Borders looked beyond our city limits into the heart of Rio de Janeiro, where gang violence has reached unthinkable levels.
Rio is a very interesting place in that there's a lot of urban violence. And Brazil is a country that has close to 100 gun-related deaths per day. And
Per day?
Per day, yeah. And so it's they're dealing with the violence on a different scale. But what we found through the programs that we've been running there is that there's also some really innovative strategies that are being used to build communities.
Last week we played some from a Brazilian group that goes by the name of Movimento na Rua. It was a little taste of what you're about to hear in a few moments. The group has touched down in Toronto for 2 weeks. They'll be touring high schools, giving workshops, talking about the work they do in the slums of Rio. The group, whose name translates to the street movement, gets young people involved in sports, art, and music, all with the goal to prevent them from turning to a life of violence. And in studio now with me I have Samuel Muniz de Araujo. In Brazil, he's been given the nickname the Soldier of Hope, and he's here to tell us why and what he hopes to achieve while he's here in Toronto.
You're launching Creativity Unleashed tomorrow night. What is this program?
So it's a program made possible through support of a number of organizations, especially Aeroplan, and it's in partnership with the University for Peace. And it's going to be a 2 to 3 week program which is being launched tomorrow. It's innovations in community building and urban peace. And we're going to be taking it to the streets after the launch tomorrow night with different community groups and different schools. And we're hoping to work with over 1,000 youth in the GTA over the next 2 weeks.
And the potential of this sort of program is what?
I think it's huge. I mean, I think it's giving a voice to youth-led organizations, and I think it's highlighting what's possible in terms of cultural exchange and in terms of community groups working together to share ideas and to share best practices in building community.
Movimento na Rua.
Eu sou favela, o corpo de uma comunidade.
So how do you plug, again, specifically, how do you plug those sort of ideas and strategies into the city of Toronto? I mean, are you going to be getting kids involved in hip-hop, and whether it's soccer or hockey or whatever?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's already a number of really great programs and projects here in Toronto. I think Schools Without Borders focuses on sort of acting as an organization that connects these groups.
Yeah, that the world is more and that you have more to your life, and to work with self-esteem and opening up to meeting other people.
You guys find it's hard to get people to go back to school? Like the kids you bring in, do you find it's hard to get them to go back to school and leave the drugs and the easy money and all of that?
There's a group called the Grassroots Youth Collaborative in Toronto that's doing amazing work in communities that have youth violence as a serious issue.
Is that successful? People talk a lot about the grassroots, and there's sort of the crime and punishment angle, in which you're just going to make sure that these people aren't going to be doing what the bad things that they're doing because they're going to be in jail. And then other people say you need to deal with the grassroots and create a sense of community and create a way for these kids to express themselves. Is that successful?
Definitely. I think if you talk to youth at the community level, and if you really listen to what they're saying, I mean, they sort of outlined 3 key things. First would be that it has to be grassroots or community-led, because there needs to be that ownership. The second would be that there needs to be creative and engaging strategies that are actually enjoyable. And the third would be that there needs to be a diversity of options, and there also needs to be tangible outputs. Youth want skills, they want jobs, they want training, they want these opportunities.
What do you think about Michael Jackson?
He's a legend. He's done a lot for music. He's done a lot for. I don't listen to him, but he's done a lot for music.
Music-wise, he's a legend. Keep that music.
Rio's a long way from Toronto. How can you compare the two? I mean, is there a way to share that information and share those strategies?
Definitely. I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And it's not to say that one country has the solution per se. I think it's important to just create that dialogue. There are a lot of similarities between Toronto and Rio. I mean, Rio's a city that's very fragmented in terms of the communities that make up Rio. And I think Toronto has a similar landscape.
and the music of Movimento Narua, accompanied again by Dudu Lessa, the drummer, and Marcelo da Silva on guitar. This is Metro Morning on CBC Radio 199.1 in Toronto. We're going to remain with you until 9 so we can continue to weigh the impact of the TTC strike, lockout, wildcat, whatever you might call it this morning. We're expecting a hot day today as well. 21 degrees with a high of 30, hot, humid, and smoggy.
Princesa, por favor, volte pra mim. Já não aguento a solidão, acho que ela me deixou. Não sei mais o que não, mas se voltar para você, te juro, princesa, te darei todo o meu amor.